Illinois. Illinois is in the house. Nice. Great science. Okay, excellent. I see Tara's name on there. Hey, Tara. It's good to see you. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining our session today. I'm Deanna Morrow. I'm a Senior National Account Manager with TCI. And today, our session, I have Morris Ty. I'm going to have him introduce himself and tell a little bit about what he does at TCI with us. I'm just letting a few more people join us. We went from like 4 participants to over 50 in like 10 seconds, which means the previous session may have run a little long. But we're social studies and science teachers, and that's what we do. But in this session, you're going to discover what's new for back to school. I'm Deanna Morrow, like I said, Senior National Account Manager, and I have with me today Morris. You want to tell everybody who you are and what you do at TCI as the head of product management?
Yeah, I'm Morris Ty, head of product management. So I work with all the departments, especially engineering, sales, Deanna. I work with everyone to just make sure we deliver the products that, teachers love. And so I'm excited to talk about what we're releasing out for back to school this year.
Excellent. And so we also behind the scenes, you saw Ginger just pop into our meeting, and Ginger is going to be what I call the magician behind the screen. So throughout the presentation, we're interested in finding out more. Morris is going to share with you the same screen that Brian and Bert shared on the housekeeping. So Ginger's going to be behind the scenes answering questions and putting links into chat. Um, and we'll be stopping throughout the presentation. So if you did not find those buttons in the previous session, make sure you look below and you can find the chat. And the chat's where you guys have that. Like, I love seeing like all of your, like, where you're from and what grades you're teaching and what districts you're from. So I feel like you guys have a pretty good handle on the chat, and that's for everyone. And then the Q&A are questions for TCI, and we might, stop and get some questions from Ginger. And then I do also want to say if you need the closed caption, you'll see that below as well, and you can turn that feature on. So, as we discover what's new for back to school, I just want to talk a little bit about, what I do is I'm front facing. So I'm somebody that you may have seen in a sales presentation or an implementation orientation at a professional conference, or maybe even in one of our recorded webinars. But this, I've been using TCI for a very long time. I'm proud to say over 30 years in one capacity or another, since Bert brought up the binders. But on a daily, Morris not only makes me look good, he helps you look good for your students in your classrooms. So him and his team have created some really amazing features that we're going to go over today with you. But just like in Brian's last session, you're going to want to grab your cell phones because we have two Mentimeters that we're going to share with you. So now that you know a little bit about us, we want to find out a little bit about you. And so if you would open up your camera, and if you're like me, you have to like do your thumbprint, do your face, like do some code to get your phone to open. So we'll give you a few seconds and then scan that QR code. And if you have if you're just working off your computer, you can open another tab, type in menti.com, enter the code 38807957, and it will bring you up to these same questions. And so we want to know about you. And just like all your students in your classroom, as you read these statements that describe you, you're probably thinking they all apply to me, or two of them are equal, or it's hard for me to choose. Even when Morris and I were talking about this yesterday, when I asked him which one he felt described him he said, it's really hard for me to choose. I'm kind of going back between these two. And then he picked one, and I won't steal his thunder. But are you resilient? Are you curious? Do you adapt easily to quick change? Are you independent? So pick the one that best describes you. And then I'm going to give you guys just a few more seconds because it's been up for about a minute or so. And I just want to make sure you have an opportunity to answer. And then we're going to share your results. So we have, a little over 100 people, which yay for this session, people who are excited to learn about what's coming. So Morris, can you share the results of the Mentimeter to see what our participants are best described as? So that's so interesting because it is really close, right? So we have 23% of you are resilient, 22 are curious, 15 adapt easily to quick change, and then 16 are independent. And we have 77 out of 86 responses, and those will continue to grow. And the reason that I think that's interesting is because, Morris, do you want to tell them which one you said you were?
I am with the crowd. I am curious. I would, if I had to choose between these four.
And I said that I was independent. And I would say the one thing I am not is I don't adapt easily to quick change. I'm somebody who needs like to build a bridge way back then, which Morris is always great with sharing. So the reason that we wanted to ask you this specific question is because these four characteristics are characteristics of people that have an innovative mindset. And if there's one thing at TCI that we're very proud of is our innovation. And it's Morris and his team that piece together your suggestions and feedback, determine what we're going to develop, and then put your ideas into action every single day. So in this session, what we're going to be covering is we're going to cover from feedback to feature. So where do the ideas for Morris and his team come from? What are the four new features that we're introducing now for the school year of 26-27? What are the next steps for you as teachers and or administrators for you to be able to implement these new features? And then we're going to do a quick wrap up. So the first thing that I'm curious about, and I think it's important for us to share, is Morris, can you tell all of our participants how you and your team receive feedback, and then how do you turn that feedback into features?
Yeah, of course. So I like to look at it as a loop, similar to the teaching cycle. There's a loop we have with, how we look at product feedback. And so I like to start from, the customer, where we're getting that feedback. It could be conversations, like I consider the summit session a conversation. Support tickets, sales, such as, Deanna may message me something. Social media and surveys, those are just five of common channels that we get feedback from. But when we get that feedback, we look at everything. I look at everything. And when I look at that, I gather the insights. I try to make sense of it, synthesize all the information. And then we bring it into product development. We have a whole team behind this. And that's when we build the features or we make decisions and prioritize. That's kind of the number one thing, in product we do is we prioritize. There's so many good ideas out there. And then we iterate. So that's kind of the loop that we have. We build, we get feedback, we improve, and then you kind of start all over again. So that's kind of how we're gonna resulted in the features that we're gonna show today.
So I just want to go ahead and I want to advertise for you. If you are somebody that is interested in providing Morris and his team feedback, Morris is going to have a session in third period today where he's going to have you select some of the features that him and his team will be working on, throughout this school year for implementation either later in the year or maybe next summer to be part of this session. If you're specifically interested in giving feedback on Florida, I have a competing session where we'll be asking the same information, like what feedback can you provide us so that we can improve our product and give you all of those features that we need. Now, one feature, so before we actually get into the features, there's one important thing that I want to make sure that I mention. And just to remind you that this is an introductory session. So we're just introducing you to these features. This is not a training session. So we know that you're probably going to have some questions throughout to get more specific information about these features. Just know that there will be some training courses, some professional development, additional webinars, and also Bert is going to be, and I heard him advertise his session as well for one of the features that we're going to introduce you to. So just know that this session is not a training session, but it's more of just an informational session to introduce you to these features. And the first feature is something that is so personal to every teacher. Like we figure out how to grade and how it works best for us. However, with that being said, many districts dictate how teachers grade, whether they use points or percentages, whether they use rubrics or checklists. And with the integration of learning management systems, we, across the country, we want to make sure that our grading experience is a positive one for teachers and students. And so we receive a lot of feedback on grading. And so I'm excited. Morris, can you share with everyone what the new grading experience is going to look like for them this year?
Yeah, of course. So the new grading experience, it's something that we've taken all the feedback we've gathered over the years, kind of the problems that we see teachers facing working with learning management systems and other platforms, and we kind of culminated that into a new experience. So the older one, which is still available, you could always go back to it for now. It's called Classic, and we're calling the new one New Grades. And what I'm going to show is some of the highlights, just like you said, is introductory. But the new grades in general, it's going to focus on showing what you assign the way you assigned it. The classic one, maybe it always showed the same exercises, the same type of work, every single lesson, but you might have to scroll a lot in order to see the type of work that you're actually assigning. And so we're really focused on that, trying to maximize the space, showing what you are assigning to your students and what they're doing, and also making sure that we're saving you some clicks there. And the second thing is we do understand the majority of teachers out there, they have some learning management system that they use. And it's common to have an integration for the grades to pass over there and then eventually pass over to your SIS or your grade book. And so because of that, there are some things that we thought we could do to further align the two systems. And so I'm going to show a little bit of the stuff that we're doing there.
So
And the la
you're going to demo for us in a program?
Yeah, I
Okay,
think I will. Yeah, I think it's going to be
awesome.
a great time.
Awesome.
The last thing I wanted to talk about is, this is the beginning of the school year. If you already started using new grades, great. If you haven't, I really recommend you do. If you're on the fence about it, at least give it a try. And the main reason is throughout the school year, we have a lot of goodies coming in terms of new grading features, and they are exclusively coming to the new grades experience. So I do recommend if you're on the fence, definitely try it out.
And you'll also show us how we can do that when you do the demo?
Yeah, let's
Awesome.
do that.
All right, great.
Okay. So I'll just go into the demo here. And so here I just jumped into my teacher account. And so what you're looking at is the new grades. Um, so basically, I'm going to highlight a few of my favorite things of this new page. Of course, the page looks a little bit different compared to Classic. But the first key thing I wanted to show is right now with Classic, if you are the type of teacher, just like I assume many are, you'll have students that come and go. Maybe they're absent. Maybe there's a reason you want them to do another assignment. It's kind of hard to see that with Classic grading. And so what you have here is that, one of the students has a makeup assignment different from the rest. And it's hopefully very easy to see. It's very clear here. Sophia is that student. And so if you had a small group you assigned a makeup assignment for, or just another one, again, it's clear who it's going to be applicable for and who it isn't. And all of that is really related to my first point about this being related to showing what you assigned and how you assigned it. If you named your assignments differently, it'll show up here. what the due date is, things like that. The second thing I want to highlight is related to learning management systems. So you'll probably see some clouds around here. If you don't use an LMS for grade sync, you don't need to have this on. You could turn it off. But the really nice thing about that is it tells you the status of that grade sync. So ideally, all the time it's green. But sometimes it might not be synced and maybe there's a lag, or it's red because there's an error. What's nice is being able to see what's actually happening without having to jump back and forth between TCI and the LMS. And also, a really nifty thing that our team did is if you needed to resync a single score, you can click on it and then it'll do that. Again, that's not something that you could do with Classic. So I really appreciate the team and what they did for aligning to learning management systems.
And
The
so,
last, oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I just want to, I saw a couple of questions come in. So the grades will sync with Schoology,
Hmm.
correct? And
Right.
you can also assign and do a grade sync with Canvas, correct? With
That's
those
right.
systems? Awesome.
Google Classroom, Canvas, Schoology, those are kind of the major three. We do integrate with, some other ones, especially ones that are using what's called LTI, but those are the three that we really focus on. And yeah, we get honestly probably tens of thousands, if not more, grade syncing every day to those systems.
Excellent. So I know this feature is really going to help teachers definitely become more efficient graders.
Yes,
Absolutely.
definitely.
Great.
The last thing I actually wanted to show is, what are we doing for the student? So if you're already using us, you might be familiar with what the student side looks like, but I want to show, we also did a new page for them. So if I go in as a student, sign in as a student, and I go to grades, well, you'll see is a new grades experience as well. It's also focused on what you assigned. Previously, you may always see the same six, seven kind of default exercises, but now you'll see the assignments that you gave to the students, and you'll see more information such as a percentage for the lesson or an easy access to comments that you gave the student. So again, we just focused on trying to make it a little bit more streamlined for the student and give the information that they'll need to know exactly how they're doing. And that's the three things I want to highlight for this feature.
Well, and I know that there are several other features in here, and just with the essence of time, I had to limit Morris to three. So I'm excited for you guys to explore this feature and to learn more about all of the exciting, intricacies of this feature. But Morris, can you share with everybody how they can power this up, how they would access this new grading feature?
Yeah, so I'm going to go back into my teacher account to show that. So here I am again, back in the teacher side. Basically, I already have it on, but the same place you have to turn it off is the same place you would want to go to turn it on. So that would be in settings. On the sidebar, there's a settings option and there's an opt-in features tab. The first one here is the one we've been talking about, new grades. And you'll see that I have the option to opt out because I'm already opted in. So this is the place you would go to.
And they would just turn it on, and every teacher has the autonomy to do this within their settings within their district.
That's right. So this is a teacher opt-in. All teachers should have access to be able to get in and get out of this feature. And in order to get started, I do recommend, if you're the type of teacher to assign by day, this new grades feature is going to be great because now you can see one column per day, whether it's reading, whether it's your slides. That's again something that was a little bit harder to see in the classic. Bulk rating, that's one of the features that we really love, that teachers love, and it's something that you did have in Classic, and I wanted to highlight that, we still kept it around, and so that's a great place to start. And then the last thing, again, if you're using a LMS, resyncing a single score when you need to, that's another great feature to try it out when you get in.
Hey, there are a lot of questions.
Yeah, I was just going to ask,
Yes.
Ginger, there's going to be a lot of questions with grading. So I do want to let you know, we'll pick two or three that we can pick, but if you didn't get your questions answered, we can see your Q&A and we can reach out to you directly. But just know, again, just with the essence of time, we want to make sure that we get to all of the features. But Ginger, what questions did you see in there that you'd like Morris to answer while we're talking about grades?
There are a few in here about specific LMSs that this would sync with, such as uh, Synergy and Infinite Campus,
Hmm. You okay?
and
You want
also
me
Google Classroom.
You want me to answer that one? I'll answer that one first.
Okay.
So Synergy is a student information system. We do integrate with it for things like rostering. As far as their gradebook goes, the typical pathway I've seen is the teacher will have the grade syncing from TCI into Schoology, Google Classroom, or Canvas. And then typically your district or the district will have a sync that goes from that LMS into Synergy. And so we are mostly concerned with getting grades into the LMS, and then typically, the district will have some system to get it into their grade book. But obviously, if there is a learning management system associated to Synergy that you've been using, I would say, reach out to us at info@teachtci.com, which you'll see again later. And that's how we can kind of give you a little bit more hand-holding support.
So basically, what we're saying is that's not actually a learning management system. That's like a single sign-on access.
And then
It's like a database that has all of the student records, classes, and scores. They may expand out into a learning management system, but that's when you get a little bit blurred lines, and so it's always good to have a little bit more one-on-one conversation and to figure that stuff out.
and then just two quick questions. Can you do a group sync or is it just individual?
Yeah, so one of the things that we released last year, and it's also available in Classic and still available in new grades, is that if you go to the assignments page, there's an option to resync for the entire assignment. So it isn't resyncing a single group of students, but basically you're going to resync grades for the entire assignment.
And then one question, will the due dates go away? Last year they stayed up all year.
Yeah, so the shouldn't have any change to how the due dates work. The only two times of the year I've seen due dates kind of get modified is, June 30, which just passed. We'll do a school rollover, which cleans up a lot of data, and that includes assignments being cleared out. The only other thing I can imagine is, if in your district you have certain depending on how you're auto rostering, like setting up the classes and student data in our system every day, there could be a time maybe like switching between semesters where something happens with the classes, which indirectly affects the due dates. But for the most part, yes, it should stay the same, and we're not clearing it out due to new grades, like if you switch back and forth.
All right, thank you.
No, thank you, Ginger. We appreciate you kind of handling that behind the scenes, the Q&A, because we know grading, that's why we put it first. Well, because it is such a personal experience for each of us as teachers. So the next feature that we want to introduce to you is the feature that Bert is going to be presenting later on. So one trend that I've noticed across the country in the last few months is, and even some states have added it to their legislation about limiting screen time. So, Morris, can you tell us? I mean, limiting screen time and having hands-on activities in the classroom like really lends itself to TCI because our hands-on activities are what separates us from everything else and engages students with social studies and science content. But when students are in front of their computers, can you share the feature that you and your team have created so that we get the most amount, the biggest bang for our buck for that screen time?
Yeah, so that's called teacher pace mode, and it's a perfect fit for us, like you said. The screen time thing, it's a lot about trying to keep focus, trying to stay on task, and teacher pace mode is perfect for us because, we have a lot of activities people love, and we want to make sure that we give the tools in order to manage that better. So teacher pace mode is essentially a feature that if you're in one of our slideshows, you'll be able to start a live session directly in TCI, not need to go anywhere else. And students can join your session and they'll see the same slides you see. If you change your slides forward, they'll see the same slide. If you change it back, they'll see the same slide. And so this really helps keep students staying on task and focused throughout the activity.
Okay. Do you have the capability to show us this, even though there's a teacher view and a student view?
Yeah, it's I do, and I'm excited to show it. It's going to be an interesting one. So let's take a look at it in action. So here I am in my teacher side again. I went to the lesson overview page. The place that you would go to in order to start something is within the slideshow. So I'm going to go into this slideshow, and here I'm going to split screen. Okay, so I have my teacher screen on the left, and I have my student screen on the right. I'm logged in as a student on the right. So what happens is if you want to start teacher pace mode, you can start it. The window's a little small, but basically you'll be able to choose which students you want to join. So I'm going to say period one. I'm going to start this, and you'll see immediately on the right, the student side, they see anywhere they're at inside of the program pop up to join your session. And so you see right now, there's no students in there. You click join from the student side, and that turns into one. If I go to slide two, you'll see slide two changing on the student side. And so this is really great again because you're just controlling the slides they're seeing so they can't really go anywhere else in the slideshow, but it also gives the opportunity for students to still do work on their own devices. So you'll see an example here where on the right, I answer the question as a student, but then on the left, I could still model the question as a teacher. And so every individual student can work on their own device and slide.
And so I notice on the left-hand side, on the teacher side, it says show answer key because that's for the teachers if they want to grade at the point of use. But that's not, obviously not, we don't want the students seeing the answer key, so that's gone. And then we can see where the students' work was saved when they went and worked. And then when you forward the screen, will that it'll forward
Yeah.
for the students, and then if they have additional work, they can do it as the teacher's going over the slideshow.
Yeah, this is definitely one of those things where you really want to control the pace. So one of the tips that, I'll give at some point is just that if you want the students to kind of free roam, you could always end the session and start it back up again, and then it pulls them back in.
And will this work for additional features within TCI, or is this strictly just slideshows?
For now, it's just slideshows. We're really trying to manage what completely is being presented on the screen from the teacher's device and
Mhm.
making sure students are looking at the exact same slide.
And so, but the slideshows are both for the hands-on activity slideshows, the inquiry project slideshows, and the video activities.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so any slideshow in any of the different teaching options, this will work.
Yeah, it's optimized for classroom activity and video activity. Of course, we
Okay.
have other types of slideshows, and there will be other ways we'll optimize it for those. But I would say, the main ones to focus on will probably be the hands-on activities and the video activities.
And I see it in chat, but I just want to reemphasize when a student changes or creates or adds their work, they answer the questions, they do draw their maps, it automatically saves for the teacher.
Yeah, so the students work auto saves immediately after the student does this. If you want to go to the grade book and view their work, you can see it, as they're doing it.
Excellent. And do teachers need to opt into this feature the way that they opted into the grading feature?
Yes. And so it's going to be exactly the same place. So I'm going
Okay.
to end the session here and you'll see it's closed on the student side. I'll blow this window back up so we can have more space. If I go back over into the navigation, it's in the same spot. So if you spotted it earlier, good job. You're a great detective. The second feature is teacher pace mode. So again, you can see that I'm opted in already, so I can opt out, but this is where you would go.
Okay. So the two features that you've gone over so far are the new grading experience and the teacher pace mode. And all teachers have the capability to opt into both of those features using this setting on the purple sidebar.
That's
Beautiful.
right.
So one trend, so we've already shown like how to, do the product power up. But another trend that we're seeing not only in education, but we're seeing across the country, like you can't turn on the television without this particular topic coming up, and that's going to be artificial intelligence. And so I know there's two features that TCI has been working on, and I know we're going to continue to add to these features. But before we talk about the two features that you and your team have added into our programs, can you talk a little bit about how TCI approaches artificial intelligence for our programs and in our company?
Yes. And it's something that, it's an important topic. This is where we start everything related to AI. Our approach can easily be remembered with the acronym PAST. I really love that our team put that together. But it starts with purpose, access control, safety, and transparency. So all of our AI features from now and forever, they will follow this approach. For purpose, our features are thoughtfully designed to save educators time and improve student outcomes. And that's it. That is the main priority, and that we don't really stray from that. Access control for that, TCI provides district and teacher level control so that you can always opt into the features in order to display the content. None of the features that I'm going to show you go directly to the student the second that is turned on. There's some level of gating. Either it's the admin turns on AI in general, or it's the teacher who says, yeah, this looks good. I'm going to let a student see this. So there's definitely control all along the way. For safety, TCI does not use teacher or student data to train AI models. This gets asked a lot, and that's it. Period. We do not use it, and we never will for training any AI models. And lastly, transparency. TCI supports labeling and opting in for AI generated content. All of our generated content using AI starts from TCI content, starts from our professionally created and standards aligned materials. So one thing that you can trust is that if you're seeing AI coming from our system, it's enhanced by our content and it isn't something that is just generally, the AI coming up with. So with this model, I hope you guys can trust our AI. And if you have any questions, you can email us at info@teachtci.com. We're happy to answer any questions or review any vetting process you might have for AI.
So I'm also placing in the chat a link that take and that will take you to TCI's approach to artificial intelligence. So whether you're a teacher or an admin and you want a little bit additional information, you can click on that link after our session's over, though. But that's available to you, and you can share that with your school sites or your district. So as a teacher. And in Bert's session, I love that's one of my favorite thing he talks about is that it's Teachers Curriculum Institute. And we're all teachers. Is we want everything like right now, right now, right now. Like we're really impatient. We're excited about all of the new possibilities. And so, can you share with us the two features that you and your team have worked on to help teachers this school year with artificial intelligence?
Yeah, I'd love to. So the two features focus on leveled reading and building questions. These were the two areas that we felt were the best places to start, saving teachers time, saving teachers giving them the ability to further differentiate, because we know we want to meet, the learners where they are. So the first feature is leveled reading. Basically, if you already use us, you probably are familiar with reading level B and reading level A. A being kind of the one that follows our text. The B one is more simplified. And what we've heard in the past is we want more options to level down. We even want the option to level up. And so in order to meet, that need, we're using AI to help us generate some of this content grounded in the TCI content. And so you'll have more reading level options available, basically. And the really great thing is we understand that, you want to meet them where they are. We offer all of our content into Spanish, so it made perfect sense for us to make sure that the AI reading levels also support Spanish. So you can, trust that. And then lastly, the students, again, they won't see anything unless you choose to give it to them. And, I'll have more information about that in a bit. For the question builder, that's our second feature. And this is something where it's just trying to save some time. So it'll have two options. You can create some questions or you can modify some questions. For the creation at this point, you can create up to 20 questions. They're multiple choice questions. You could start from our content to create them. And then if you want to modify the number of answer choices, which is a common request in your assessment, you can do that with AI as well. You can bring it down, or you can even generate more answer choices if that's what you like. All of these features that we build, again, is backed with our TCI approach. So yeah, I'm excited for people to experience our AI features.
All right. Well, I'm excited for you to share and demonstrate these two features. And I do want to say thank you so much, Morris, not only for these features, but saying that the reason this is where you started, you and your team, was because I think what you said specifically was it saves teachers time and it allows you to differentiate to meet students to where they are. And there is not a teacher on the planet that those two comments do not resonate with. So thank you and your team for recognizing those two important things that we need as teachers. So take it away and show us how you're going to save us time and how we can differentiate for our kids.
All right, so I'm going to start with the reading levels. So the best place to start from is the reading itself. If you go there and you have access to the AI, which I'll talk more in a bit, you'll see more options when you look at the reading level dropdown. You'll still have the standard, which we renamed from level A, just to kind of give a little bit more meaning to it. And since I'm in a high school program, you'll see all the way down to G4 5. And so basically, we have up to six new reading levels. And depending on the grade level you're in, you might not see one or two on the edges just because we've noticed that, it's not a great experience for going that far away. And so what I'm going to do is click on G6-7. And then you'll see this page immediately change. And the great feature, my favorite feature, honestly, is being able to compare. So if you click on this down here, you'll be able to compare the reading level you chose versus the standard level. And you can kind of skim through and read any parts that you're particularly concerned about, or you just want to read through it. This is a great spot to just make sure, like, what level do I want to use for this student or this group? And it also shows some of the things that we really care about. So one of the things that you can trust is also that we have certain guardrails. We when we make the leveled information, we don't want to lose any quotes. We don't want to lose any meaning. We don't want to lose any specific vocabulary, primary sources. There's certain things that you don't want to level, and that is a priority for us. And so this is one of the places where you can, just verify that, double check that if you'd like. But yeah, this is my one of my favorite features.
It's also one of my favorite features, and I see a lot of questions in chat, and I just want to tell everybody that the things that they're putting in chat, you're going to cover. So just be
Oh,
patient.
perfect.
But I do think it's important that, we do have those guardrails and we do protect primary sources, quotes, journal entries, things like that. So I love that as well.
Yeah, so if you review this information, you like it, let us know with a thumbs up. If you don't like it, let us know with a thumbs down. I like any type of feedback, honestly. And you can come up here and change out which one you want to look at. If you want students to actually use it, then you can see up here, this level is not assigned to any students. You can click on the edit icon, and it'll take you to an updated page where you can make the changes with as few clicks as possible. So here I already have Amara and Claire assigned two different levels, and the rest of them still have level B. But if you want only the leveled option, turn off the standard and then select the leveled. If you only want the standard, you could turn it off for everybody. You could do it for the entire class from up here, or you could do it for individual students. The one thing I wanted to show from this side is what it looks like on the student side, because you're probably curious about that. So I'm going to sign in as Amara here, who has G4 5 assigned. And so if I go into the same program and I go into the reading, they don't see G4 5 or 6-7 or whatnot. They'll just see leveled. And this is important for us. We didn't want there to be any stigma around what level you're at. We didn't want them to kind of like look on each other's screens. They'll just see what you want them to see. So as a student, if I click on leveled here, you can trust that you're seeing G45. That's a level that it'll set. And if you want to go back to standard, that's okay. If you turn it off for them, that's okay. So all of those things are, set up for you, hopefully with a lot of control.
So there are some questions about how they get access to these and when they're available. They're available now. We're going to share with you after Morris talks about the grading option because the access and the opt-in are going to be in the same place. So just so that you know, these features are available now, but there are some steps that your district, like Morris mentioned, the district is the gatekeeper. So we'll talk about that more in just a few minutes, but I know he's anxious and wants, I want to make sure that he gets to the test generator and how you can use AI in questions and the different features with AI in our assessments.
Right. So I'm going to go into an empty test here that I created. And there's going to be a new option if you have it available. Here you can select any number of sections in the lesson. I'll select 1 and 2. I want to keep it at 4 answer choices. And let's say I want to create 2 questions. So I get that started. This is going to take anywhere from 5 to 15 seconds. I've seen it on average around 10 seconds. But whenever it's done, you'll be able to see the questions for you to review. And then when you see that, you can decide, do I want to use it? Do I not want to use it? So here you'll see the 2 questions that were created, one for each section. And, let's say that I only like the first one. Then I'll unselect the second one. And the really nice thing is once you save it, you can edit it so that it becomes your question. So you don't have to keep it exactly the way it is. So let's say I want to save this. Here you'll see that the question is just like any other. We do have the AI badge there just to remind you like this question is created by AI or modified by AI. The student does not see that AI badge at all. It is your question. You can share it if you'd like. You can modify it. You can copy it, do whatever you want to it. But that is creating questions. The second one and then I'll check if there's any questions. The second one is the second you have any questions in here that are multiple choice, you have a modify option. And I'm not gonna, go through this one, but basically you can modify the number of answer choices and it'll show you, it went down from 4 to 2, 4 to 3, and then you could review and decide if you want to keep that.
So just so that to clarify, any student that has like maybe a 504 or an IEP, you would create 2 answer choices and you could assign that assessment to them, just like we always have. These questions do not replace the current questions that TCI has built into our assessment creator that are tagged with your state standards, but these will be added to those questions. And because what you said was these are your questions, you can then share these questions with maybe your professional learning community during your PLC meetings.
That's right. All of that is right.
Okay, awesome. And then is there a limit to the amount of AI questions that you can generate per section or per chapter?
That's a great question. So there isn't a specific limit to how many you can create. One of the things that we want to do is be transparent. There is a limit, an upper limit to how much you can really create per day. But the in our testing, it's such a high number that essentially I can't imagine you hitting it unless you were trying to. So you can kind of work as if there isn't a limit. We don't have like a cap of 20 questions or 100 questions, things like that.
Well, and if you have, a section of text that let's say it's, I don't know, 600 words, there's only so many questions that your AI is going to be able to generate. And then you're going to have some overlap with some of the stuff that TCI has already created in our assessment creator. So um, I think that there will be plenty of assessment questions to make sure that our students understand the concepts and content that we're trying to teach them. So now the burning question on everyone's mind is, and we're down to our last 5 or 6 minutes, so it's really important for this next piece, is how do teachers get access to these AI features?
Yes, great question. So we are in closed beta. Again, that means that it is something that you need to basically have it turned on for you. So the procedure is an admin would sign up to join the closed beta. We turn on the AI features for that account, and then the admin decides which ones they want to turn on. And so I'm going to show that really quickly before I talk about the form again. But basically, if you were to sign in as your admin account, then you have a settings page now, and in there, there's an AI features tab. And so this is where you'll turn on one or both of them. The second you join the closed beta, you'll have these available to you.
And just because they're available doesn't mean you have to use them. They've just been made available by the first gatekeeper, which is the district admin. The second
Correct.
gatekeeper is you as the teacher. So those are those guardrails that, Morris was talking about at the beginning. So I've actually just placed into the chat that closed beta interest form link. So if you are a district admin and you want to opt into these AI features, or if you are a teacher and you want to grab that form to get to your district admin, it's there located in the chat for you. So I know that we probably have some questions with AI, but I feel like we did a really good job in both chat and Q&A, but I don't want to move off of this. Is there anything, Ginger, that we should be answering at this time?
I feel like you guys did a great job covering a lot of the questions on how to get access. There are some questions that came in that were interesting is, does this have an additional cost?
Oh, that's a great question. That's not how TCI rolls. Like, we're going to give you the latest and greatest, the best, whether you adopted 5 years ago, 4 years ago, 7 years ago. Not if you were a binder user, but if you have our technology, always want to make sure that you have the best, because our TCI number one company goal is to engage students with social studies and science content. So that's what we want to do. So before back to school, we want to make sure that you have your district admins. It's the next slide. Yeah. District admin closed beta. You want to opt into your new grades and teacher pace mode. So that's up to the teachers. And then make sure that you tell us what you think about these features and continue to give us feedback. So go ahead and grab your phones and again, do your thumbprint, your design, your face, because the next QR code that we're interested in finding out about is which of these features are you most excited to implement? So scan the QR code. Is it the new grade experience and just being more efficient and effective graders and communicating more efficiently with students? Is it the teacher pace mode to get your biggest bang for your buck while you're on screen? Is it the AI leveled reading option where you can level down for your students or level up or increase the Spanish leveling? Or is it the assisted question builder where you can build new questions and also change your answer choices and edit those new AI questions? So I'm going to give you guys about 30 seconds to pull that up and scan. And while you're doing that, Morris is going to keep this slide open, but I'm going to talk about the next couple of slides, which include that TCI has you covered every step of the way. So there is continued professional development. We'll always send you emails, and if you have not opted into our newsletters, to tell you about the features, because even though we're releasing these now, features will be added to these throughout the year. So you'll get those announcements. Make sure that you follow us on Facebook and that you're following and posting on our social media pages, which I'll share those with you in just a few seconds. And then if you take any of the TCI in-app professional development courses, the video of this recording will be found in those PD courses. But in our PD courses, you'll get a certificate, a badge, and you'll also get, the district will be notified that you take our PD course. So we're down to about 90 seconds. Morris, can you release for us? What are the answers? The reading options, but I would say again, that's pretty equal. So we have the reading options is number one, teacher pace mode number two, and I believe the question and the new grading experiences, once teachers begin to use those, they're not going to stop. They're not going to go back. So for in this session, Morris, if you'll go down to the reflection slide. If you can share in chat one of these numbers, one, two, three, four, five, or six. One is if you absolutely loved what Morris shared with us today. Two is if you're very happy about what he shared. Three is if you're excited or surprised. Four, if you still need to put some thought into it. Five is if it's overwhelming, or six, if he blew your mind, like he blew mine when I was first introduced to these. So a lot of one, two, sixes. I love that feedback. Thank you for the heart, Marilyn, with the eyes. And so, in order to get into your next session, which is going to begin in just a few minutes, we're going to put this link, this bit.ly link, will take you back to it's going to be in the chat. It's going to take you back to your lobby. And then in the lobby, you can choose the session for your next session. Ginger just put it in the chat for us. And it's going to give you a pop-up and say, do you want to leave this session and join your next one? And the answer is yes, although we're very sorry to see you go. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Morris, you did a great job as always. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You always make me look good, and I appreciate that. Thank you guys
Thanks,
so
everybody.
much.
See
And
some of you later.
if we didn't get to your question, oh, thank you for the clap. Well, okay. Thank you for clapping for us. If we didn't get to your question, you can expect an email from us at the end of after the summit's over. So thank you guys so much. Enjoy your future sessions. Come to Morris's or come to mine in the third period today.